Imagine waking up tomorrow and feeling an unshakable sense of peace with who you are. No comparing yourself to anyone else. No chasing after approval like it's oxygen. Just you, whole, enough, and powerful in your own skin. That's not a dream. That's the reality you can create when you learn the art of self-love. Not the surface-level, social media kind, but the deep, unshakable self-respect the Stoics lived by. The Stoics didn't care about being liked. They cared about being in harmony with themselves. They understood a truth we've all forgotten. The relationship you have with yourself shapes every other relationship you'll ever have. If you see yourself as lacking, you'll move through life as if you're not worthy. But when you see your own value, the world reflects it back. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." In other words, you are not your failures, your rejections, or the opinions of strangers. You are what you choose to believe about yourself. If your mind is the kingdom, you are its ruler, and no one else has the right to dethrone you. We spend years seeking validation from people who don't even know themselves. We change how we speak, dress, or act just to be accepted. But the moment you live to please others, you hand them the keys to your happiness. The Stoic path teaches you to take those keys back. You do this by defining your worth through your own virtues, not through someone else's opinion. Think about the times you've doubted yourself. Was it really because you were unworthy, or because you measured yourself against someone else's life? The Stoics would tell you to drop that measuring stick entirely. The only comparison that matters is between who you are today and who you were yesterday. Did you act with courage? Did you hold to your principles? Did you treat yourself with the same kindness you'd give a friend? That's where real growth lives. Self-love, in the Stoic sense, is not indulgence. It's discipline. It's saying no to the things that weaken your spirit and yes to the things that strengthen it. It's refusing to let your happiness be dependent on wealth, status, or the fleeting approval of others. True self-worth is built when you can stand alone and still feel complete. And here's the hard truth. Sometimes loving yourself means walking away from people, places, and habits that make you forget your value. It means being willing to be misunderstood, even disliked, if it means staying true to your principles. That's not arrogance. That's integrity. When you begin to treat yourself like someone worth protecting, your mind starts to change. You stop tolerating disrespect. You stop chasing people who wouldn't cross the street for you. You stop explaining your worth to those who are determined not to see it. And in that space you create, something beautiful happens. You start attracting relationships and opportunities that match the respect you've built within. You will not always feel strong. You will not always feel confident. But self-love is a practice, not a permanent state. Each day you choose your words, your thoughts, your actions in a way that honors yourself. You are casting votes for the kind of person you want to be. Over time, those votes add up to an unshakable belief in yourself. Because here's the truth. You can lose money, status, even people, but if you never lose the ability to stand in front of the mirror and love the person looking back, you will never truly be broken. And that is the foundation of a life worth living. When you start living this way, you begin to notice that the world responds differently to you. Not because it has suddenly become kinder, but because you've stopped depending on it for your sense of worth. The insults, the gossip, the silent judgments, they don't stick the way they used to. You've built an inner armor, not of cold detachment, but of deep self-respect. The Stoics knew that self-worth isn't about thinking you're better than others. It's about knowing you're not less. That subtle shift changes everything. You stop entering rooms wondering if you belong and start entering them knowing that your presence has value simply because you exist. You realize you don't need to prove your worth. You need only to live it. Epictetus taught that people are disturbed not by events, but by the opinions they hold about them. The same is true for yourself. It's not your so-called flaws that keep you stuck. It's the story you tell yourself about them. Change the story, and you change the way you walk through the world. Maybe you've been told you're too quiet, too intense, too different. The Stoic way is to see those traits not as defects, but as unique parts of your nature. What others call weakness might be your greatest strength, if you choose to see it that way. Self-love is taking ownership of every part of yourself, the polished and the rough, and deciding they all have a place at your table. Loving yourself in this way means you stop begging for scraps of appreciation and start giving yourself the full feast. You set higher standards, not just for how others treat you, but for how you treat yourself. You don't speak words to yourself that you would never speak to someone you care about. You don't sabotage your own potential out of fear of failing. You stop apologizing for simply existing. And something remarkable happens when you do this. You begin to feel lighter. You no longer drag the heavy chains of shame and self-doubt into every interaction. You stand taller, not because you've grown overnight, but because you've stopped shrinking to make others comfortable. The Stoics understood that the world will test you. It will try to convince you that your worth is conditional, that it must be earned through performance, wealth, or beauty. But if you've built your foundation on something deeper, on your character, your principles, and your inner peace, then no test can truly shake you. When you wake up each morning, remind yourself that the first and most important relationship you have is with yourself. Guard it. Nourish it. Never betray it. Because the more you honor yourself, the more you'll inspire others to do the same. And remember, falling in love with the person you see in the mirror is not the end goal. It's the beginning. Once you do, you stop living life trying to be enough, and you start living from the truth that you already are. Once you realize you are already enough, everything you do takes on a different energy. You no longer act out of desperation or fear of being left behind. You act out of strength, purpose, and clarity. You stop chasing, and instead, you start attracting. People notice it. They might not even be able to explain why, but they'll feel it. Your presence becomes magnetic, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're unapologetically authentic. The truth is, when you love yourself deeply, you stop over-explaining your choices. You stop seeking permission to live the life you want. You don't need to convince anyone of your path because you've made peace with it. And those who truly belong in your life will respect it. The rest will fall away, and that's not a loss. It's a blessing. The Stoics would remind you that your time here is short, and wasting it on self-hatred or endless comparison is one of the greatest tragedies. Every moment you spend doubting yourself is a moment stolen from what you could be creating, building, and becoming. When you love yourself, you free up all that energy and redirect it toward what truly matters. Self-love in the Stoic sense is not a luxury, it's a responsibility. It means you take care of your body, your mind, and your soul, not because it's fashionable, but because it's your duty to yourself. You strengthen your character because it's the one possession no one can take from you. You invest in your growth because it's the only thing that guarantees a richer life. And here's the thing, when you live from this place, you stop fearing solitude. You start cherishing it. You understand that being alone doesn't mean you're unloved. It means you're free to love yourself without interruption. That's a power most people never discover, because they're too busy drowning out their own voice with the noise of the crowd. The mirror stops being a place where you judge yourself. It becomes a place where you check in with an old friend. You look into your own eyes and know that no matter what happens out there, success, failure, gain, loss, you've got your own back. And when you carry that level of certainty within you, life's storms may shake you, but they will never sink you. That is the kind of unbreakable self-worth the Stoics lived for. And it's the kind of self-worth you can choose to start building today. Not next year, not when things are perfect, but right now, in this very moment. Because the person you're looking for to love you the way you've always wanted is already in the mirror, waiting for you to see them. And when you finally see them, truly see them, you understand why all the years of seeking approval felt so exhausting. You were searching outside for something that could only ever be found within. The compliments, the likes, the recognition. They gave you a brief spark, but never the steady fire you needed. That steady fire is lit the moment you decide your worth is non-negotiable. From there, life begins to feel different. Rejection stops feeling like a verdict on your value and starts feeling like redirection toward where you truly belong. Failure stops being proof of inadequacy and becomes a stepping stone to mastery. You no longer crumble under criticism because you understand it's just someone's opinion, not your truth. The Stoics would tell you that the most important fortress you can ever build is the one around your mind. Not to keep the world out, but to protect what's sacred within you. When you love yourself, you become the guardian of your peace. You don't allow every voice, every judgment, every passing opinion to live rent-free in your head. Only what aligns with your principles gets to stay. This shift doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you free. Free to say yes without fear. Free to say no without guilt. Free to live by your values without apology. And with that freedom comes a quiet confidence that speaks louder than any boast ever could. Every great act of courage in history began with someone believing in themselves before anyone else did. That belief is the soil in which resilience grows. It's what allows you to stand again after being knocked down, to keep going when the path ahead is unclear, and to hold on to your vision when no one else can see it. The day you fall in love with the person in the mirror is the day you stop living on borrowed confidence. You begin generating your own. And that kind of self-generated strength is unshakable because it doesn't depend on anything outside of you. So when you look in the mirror tomorrow, don't just check your reflection. Remind yourself who you are. Speak to yourself with the respect you've always wanted from others. Stand tall, not because life is perfect, but because you are showing up for yourself no matter what. Because the truth is, the world doesn't change when you love yourself. You do. And when you change, you see the world differently. Suddenly, every challenge becomes a chance to prove your own strength. Every moment becomes an opportunity to live with purpose. And every reflection in the mirror becomes a reminder that you are, and always have been, enough. And once you know you are enough, you stop bargaining with your own value. You no longer enter situations thinking, I hope they choose me. Instead, you think, I'll see if this aligns with who I am. That single shift takes you from waiting to be chosen to doing the choosing. The Stoics would tell you that self-love is not about inflating your ego, it's about anchoring yourself in truth. It's knowing that no praise can make you more worthy, and no insult can make you less. Your worth is constant, like the sun. It may be hidden by clouds some days, but it never stops shining. And here's the quiet magic of it all. When you treat yourself as someone worthy of love, you unconsciously teach others how to treat you. The people who can't match that energy will drift away, and those who can will stay. What's left are relationships built not on need, but on mutual respect and genuine connection. The mirror then becomes more than glass, it becomes a compass. Each day, you look into it to realign yourself. To ask, am I living in a way that honors who I am? Am I keeping the promises I made to myself? That is how you stay grounded when life tries to pull you off course. And you will be tested. There will be moments when the old doubts try to creep back in, when the world's noise feels louder than your own voice. But this time, you'll know better. You'll recognize those doubts for what they are, echoes of a past where you didn't yet understand your own value. And instead of listening to them, you'll return to the truth you've built. Because falling in love with yourself is not a one-time event, it's a lifelong commitment. Some days it will feel effortless, and some days it will feel like work. But every day you choose it, you reinforce the foundation of a life that cannot be shaken. So stand in front of that mirror, not as someone waiting to be fixed, but as someone already whole. Speak to your reflection with the voice of a friend, a mentor, a protector. Live as though your worth is not up for debate, because it never was. And when you walk into the world with that certainty, you don't just change your own life. You give silent permission for others to do the same. And that's when the true power of self-love reveals itself. It doesn't stop with you. The moment you embody it, the moment you live it, people around you begin to feel it. Without preaching, without forcing, you become an example of what it means to live anchored, grounded, unshakable. Others start to notice the way you carry yourself, the calm in your decisions, the quiet strength in your presence. And they begin to ask themselves why they settle for less within their own lives. This ripple effect is what the Stoics understood. They knew that by mastering yourself, you influence the world far more than by trying to control others. When you become the kind of person who respects themselves fully, you raise the standard of what's possible for everyone who encounters you. But you must protect this. The world will try to distract you, to lure you back into seeking worth outside of yourself. It will tempt you with applause, with shiny comparisons, with shallow approval. And yet, the Stoic path reminds you to return again and again to the mirror, not to admire vanity, but to honor truth. Because the mirror does not lie. It will reflect back the tired eyes when you've abandoned yourself. It will reflect back the strength when you've stayed loyal to your principles. It will show you, every day, whether you are living in alignment with your own worth, or trading it away for something fleeting. So ask yourself, when you look in the mirror, do you see someone you trust? Do you see someone you respect? Do you see someone you love? If the answer is not yet, then today is the day you begin. Not tomorrow. Not when the circumstances are perfect. But now. Because life is too short to live at war with the person who walks with you from your first breath to your last. And when you finally do love that person, fully, fiercely, without condition, you will understand what the Stoics meant by freedom. Not freedom from the world, but freedom from needing it to validate you. A freedom that allows you to walk through chaos with calm, through rejection with dignity, and through life with an unshakable sense of worth. And when that kind of love takes root, it changes how you experience everything. Challenges are no longer threats, they're proving grounds. Criticism no longer feels like an attack. It becomes information you can choose to use or ignore. Even loneliness stops feeling like emptiness and starts feeling like sacred space, a chance to reconnect with the person who matters most, you. The Stoics believed that the greatest victory a person could achieve was mastery over themselves. Not over nations, not over wealth, not over other people, but over their own mind, their own heart, their own actions. When you love yourself, you are no longer a prisoner to the shifting moods of others or the unpredictable turns of fortune. You remain steady, no matter what storms roll through. Think of it this way. Life will always hand you situations beyond your control. People will change. Plans will fail. The world will be unfair. But when your worth is rooted inside you, those things lose the power to break you. They may bend you, but they will never shatter you. And slowly, you stop fearing life's uncertainties. You stop clinging to what you can't hold and start focusing on what you can. Your choices, your principles, your mindset. You realize that every day you look in the mirror and choose to value yourself, you are strengthening the one thing no one can ever take from you. This doesn't mean you won't have bad days. You will. But loving yourself means you refuse to abandon yourself on those days. You show up anyway. You give yourself patience instead of punishment. You keep going, not because it's easy, but because you've decided you're worth the effort every single time. And with time, something incredible happens. You begin to trust yourself completely. You trust your judgment, your resilience, your ability to rise again. You stop needing a safety net because you know you are the safety net. You stop looking for someone to save you because you've learned to save yourself. That is the quiet, unshakable strength the Stoics lived by. And that is the life you build when you fall in love with the person you see in the mirror. Not for what they can do, but for who they already are. And when you reach that point, life feels different in a way that's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't experienced it. You're no longer desperate for opportunities. You create them. You're no longer terrified of endings. You understand they make room for beginnings. You're no longer weighed down by the need to be understood by everyone. You realize that those meant for you will understand without explanation. The Stoics would say this is the essence of inner freedom, to live in such a way that the loss of anything external cannot rob you of your peace. You can appreciate beauty without clinging to it, you can love deeply without losing yourself in the process, and you can walk away from anything that asks you to betray your own principles. When you see yourself in the mirror now, you see someone who has fought for this peace. Someone who has endured self-doubt, rejection, and failure, yet stands unbroken. You recognize the strength in your own eyes, the quiet power in your posture, the certainty in your breath. And you know, it was worth every step, every setback, every lonely night it took to get here. From this place, you no longer chase happiness like a finish line. You understand that it's something you create daily, in the way you speak to yourself, the way you treat yourself, and the way you protect your energy. You know that love, real lasting love, must begin with you, or it will always crumble under the weight of needing someone else to hold it together. And so, you continue the practice. You keep showing up to the mirror each day, not to see if you're enough, but to remind yourself that you already are. You keep living by the values that make you proud to be you. You keep building a life that feels true in your bones, regardless of who's watching. Because self-love is not a destination, it's a lifelong journey. And the more you walk it, the more you realize that the person in the mirror has been your greatest ally all along. They've carried you through storms, through losses, through every moment you thought you couldn't survive, and yet here you are. And that's the miracle the Stoics understood. You don't need the world to love you first. You need to love yourself enough to walk through it, no matter what it gives or takes away. Because once you do, you carry a light within you that no darkness can ever extinguish. And when you carry that light, you stop fearing the dark. You stop shrinking when life throws its shadows across your path, because you know the source of your strength isn't out there. It's in here, burning steady and quiet inside you. That light becomes your compass, guiding you through uncertainty, reminding you that even if the road is unclear, you have everything you need to take the next step. The Stoics would tell you that this is the ultimate wealth. Not gold, not status, but the unshakable sense that you are whole as you are. That your value is not up for negotiation, no matter the circumstances. And when you live from that truth, the games of comparison, competition, and constant approval-seeking lose their grip on you. You stop trying to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You stop forcing yourself into molds that suffocate who you really are. Instead, you begin to build a life that fits you, your values, your principles, your vision. You walk into rooms without bending your spine or silencing your voice, because you know your presence alone has weight. The mirror becomes a place of accountability, not judgment. You look into it and ask, am I living like someone who knows their worth? Am I protecting my peace like it's sacred? Am I treating myself as the most important relationship I'll ever have? And if the answer is no, you don't spiral into shame. You simply course correct. Over time, this way of living becomes natural. Your boundaries strengthen. Your decisions become clearer. Your confidence stops being something you put on like an outfit and starts being the air you breathe. And slowly, the love you have for yourself becomes so ingrained that no loss, no betrayal, no change in fortune can take it away. Because once you truly fall in love with the person you see in the mirror, you stop asking the world for permission to be who you are. You already know you belong, not because someone told you so, but because you've decided it's true. And that decision will carry you through every season of your life with a kind of peace most people never find.